Kathy, you are welcome to hit the record button.
Good. Thank you, Elliot. So good afternoon, everyone. Want to thank you all for participating in this question and answer session relating to the 5310 grant applications for the Regional Transportation Coordinating Council. We are recording this if you're joining us late so that we can have this information shared. If you need to have it shared with other individuals within your organization or something that we need to come back and follow up on as well too for us as staff. So we have quite a few people on the call today, so I appreciate everybody's participation. If you have not met me yet, my name is Kathy Schultz. I am the new program manager for the Mobility Management Program here at MnDOT, officially on week 4. So I will not know all the answers to all of your questions, and I will guarantee that's going to be the case. So with that, I have Elliot McFadden on the line. He is going to be kind of quarterbacking, or how does that work in football terms? I don't know. I hand off the ball, you throw the ball back. I don't know. So anyways, yes, we have a couple of
I think
individuals
I'm the
here.
tight end.
Oh, tight end. Okay. Yeah, that's how bad I am at football. But anyways, I guess I'm quarterback. I don't know. Anyways, back to 5310. So we do have him on the call as well as Sue is here as well too. And then Chuck is here for some Black Cat resources, but he's not going to have a part in speaking. But anyways, Elliot.
Yeah, and I'll add that we also have Nick Tietz from
Oh, Nick. Yes.
ILT Academy, who will be with us for a little bit as a guest to talk about the Lean Startup programming that'll be part of the mobility management programming for this next year.
Good. And so with that, I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go ahead and get started on just the presentation. And we are going to leave some time at the end for some questions and answers. So if you have something very specific, if you want to hold off for a second, we'll get through this presentation, which isn't going to be very long, but then we'll go back and have that Q&A time. So, all right. Let's see if I can get these slides to do what I need them to do today too. So just the agenda for today is just an overview of the grant application and then some changes that we'll discuss regarding the 2025 grant application. Nick's going to give us a little bit of overview on this Lean Startup as well then with Sue providing some funding and grant information. I'll go over some timelines with everyone so that we have a clear definition on those, as well as giving you some context for when you have questions, and then some question time as well too. Understand as well too, questions will come up after this presentation. Please reach out to me. I'll work to get the information as fast and efficiently as possible to you. So with this is the 5310 Enhanced Mobility and Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities program that you are looking to do an application for. Again, this continued coordination among the transportation stakeholders. So many of you have got some great programs that are already in the making. MnDOT is supporting the RTCCs and developing a new coordination and programming effort to address specific transportation problems and barriers. And we'll further elaborate on that later in this webinar. With this funding, this will help the RTCCs develop new initiatives in preparation for their 26 solicitation. The grant is to include a substantial project planning and development element for the 26 solicitation, which may include continued market research, partner recruitment, business and operational planning, community outreach, and grant application work. So Federal Transit Administration provided some updated guidance that was issued back in November of 2024. So looking back at that, we're highlighting FTA's objectives of looking to fill gaps in service to seniors and individuals with disabilities, having projects that demonstrate an increase in ridership, an increase in enhanced geographic coverage, service quality, and or in service. So with these changes, I'm going to pass this over to Elliot, but we're looking at changes to the 25 grant application. And one specific area that is going to be this 1-year grant application. And I'll let Elliot further elaborate on that. And you don't have any.
If
Okay,
you want to go
thank
ahead
you.
and move to the next slide
Yeah.
for me. So I wanted to just give you an overall or give you an overview of our thoughts on how we're looking at the RTCCs developing over the next 3 years. So this 1-year solicitation that we're doing right now, plus the next one, which will be more in line with what many of you have done in the past, which is a 2-year. And so one of the things that we want to do is really move from what I think has been a focus that's been on capacity building, organizational structure, to helping to fund programs that demonstrate quantifiable impacts that fill needs for in transit services for people over 65 and people with disabilities. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. And the way we're looking to do that is first with this planning year. So we're looking at providing a year of funding to help RTCCs kind of transition to this new structure. Some of you folks are already doing some work in this space, but really help you really flesh out specific proposals to address the 5310 population in your area. Next. We want you to identify and hypothesize on what kind of impact your program is going to have, and also start to think about developing key metrics so that we can measure those results. This is all in preparation for next year's 2-year solicitation, which will be focused on implementing the idea that you're proposing to us in this 1-year preparatory period. So just to think about some of the things you can expect with the winter 26 application is it will be competitive for the first time with our RTCC programming. So we'll be looking at additional funding or reduction in funding depending on impact of the proposal, replicability of the project, and level of local or other match funding that you're bringing to the table with your project idea. Next slide. Our second goal is to really help each project be successful and not only being successful in your area, but really being able to replicate that and show demonstrated impact in the programming that you're doing. So next slide, please. And so one of the areas we're looking at is this with this is we're going to be hiring the University of Minnesota and working with researchers there to document before and after impacts of the programming that you're looking to develop. And so those will be looking at key performance measures that you are identifying. So there'll be some things that you identify. You want to understand better how you're impacting your own community. We'll also have some of those that are developed that are looking at how you're helping to meet MnDOT goals as well. And then we'll also look for opportunities to collaborate with each other and share successes in webinars, conferences, and other people in the community. And then the third area is we want to expand the reach and sustainability of the mobility management program. And one of the key areas we want to do that is by looking at the members of MnDOT, the other state agencies, and how we can bring them on as a funding partner. Next slide. So one of the things that we're conscious of is, MnDOT has been the sole funder to date of the RTCC program, but the work that you're doing greatly impacts a lot of the other state agencies in the state, and we want to bring some of those partners along. And so we're looking for opportunities as you're developing your project for ways to engage with state agencies that are part of MnDOT to understand their transportation challenges and how you're impacting them. be able to report back your accomplishments and your successes to that group as well. Communicate on the metrics that are important to those organizations, and then finally make a case for partner investment. So we want to bring more resources to the table for the work that you're doing. So we see this as a really great opportunity to do that over the next 3 years. So if you go to the next slide, one of the development resources we're going to be making available for you is our work with our partner ILT Academy, who has worked with our Moving Greater Minnesota Forward program, which is our shared mobility innovation program at MnDOT, the first in the country that works with the specific needs of rural, tribal, and small urban communities to develop new shared mobility concepts. And so part of the work you'll be doing is enrollment this next year with ILT Academy in their Lean Startup Development Cohort. It's a 10-line online course to help you further develop your idea into a fundable project. Completion is going to be a required deliverable for your fiscal year 26 award. However, all expenses with ILT Academy and office hours, classes, any other support will be covered by MnDOT. So you do not need to include any of that in your budgeting. Just a very brief introduction to Lean Startup, which is the process that we have been using for moving Greater Minnesota forward. And I have experience with previously as a product manager developing new mobility ideas for marketplaces. Just a few kind of key concepts that Lean Startup brings to the table. It's very problem solution focused. It's not technology for technology's sake. It asks the key question, is this a problem worth solving? And does my idea actually solve that problem? It's also human-centered. You involve your customers and end users as much as possible, as early as possible, and get a really positive feedback loop to continue to refine your idea. It's resource light. You spend time in that interchange with your customers and really understanding and refining your process before you put resources into it. And then you build what's called a minimum viable product, or MVP, which are the least amount of resources for you to get out and start testing your idea. It's also built on the scientific method. So you put out a hypothesis, something provable you think that you want to understand with your project. It's also metrics based, so you use measurements. You measure what you're doing. If you want to hit to the next point. And then finally, you only move on, if you want to hit to the next point. You only scale and add more resources once your idea meets or exceeds your hypothesis for success. So in the meantime, you spend further time refining your idea, or if you get to a point where you cannot refine any further, pivot to a different idea that may meet that problem as well. So it creates this virtuous cycle of building, getting your idea out and interacting with customers, and then learning from that, and then refining, and you continue to do that. What this brings to the table is a process that in the end saves you time and money, it reduces the risk, and it makes for a better product. And so I'm going to tee up Nick to talk a little bit more now about the ILT program. Again, it is a 10-week online course, which includes coaching in Lean Startup Principles. If you want to hit the next. It's a weekly meeting with the cohort, plus you have out-of-class work and a final presentation at a program showcase to kind of summarize all your work. And right now we are looking just for planning purposes, so you can kind of be thinking about this and your participation, looking at a period from July 14th through September 15th as the period for the cohort for RTCCs this coming year. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Nick to talk with us a little bit about, give us a little more, because I know we do have some alumni on the call, but not everybody has been through the process, and let him tell you a little bit more about what ILT does.
Yeah, awesome. I know there's I can see a couple alumni on the list that have their cameras off. Well, this is a camera on program, and so you don't have to turn your cameras on, Karen, but I would love to see you. So anyway, we got some people in the crowd. Let me share my screen real quick, make sure this all works. Yay! Thank you, Karen. Love you. All right, screen window tab. They always change the interface here on me, Elliot. There we go. All right. Can you see?
I can. Go for it.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So let's talk about this. Of course, this is the MnDOT Shared Mobility Lean Startup Program. And I'm the founder and CEO of a company called ILT Academy. ILT simply stands for I Like That. And we are focused on empowering underestimated innovators and entrepreneurs in rural, urban, and informal settlements. We want to find you, teach you how to think like an entrepreneur and be more entrepreneurial, push you towards commercializing this idea, as Elliot was talking about. How do you put together a great plan and strategy, connect you with other innovators and entrepreneurs like Karen, and then find all of the supports that you should take advantage of. Your job is to find the things you need. We've run 45 cohorts since November 2020. 700 innovators and founders have come through this program. Collectively, they've raised over $24.2 million. That includes entrepreneurs from the previous shared mobility cohorts. But we aren't here just to teach and train entrepreneurs. We want to see healthy and thriving communities full of problem solvers. People in Silicon Valley aren't going to be the people that unlock shared mobility in rural Minnesota. We need people in Minnesota actively working and solving the problems and do it together. Now, our program is focused on lean startup innovation. And as Karen knows, when you are working on your business, you're doing Post-it notes and having fun and drawing pictures. You can see on the left. And then when you're working in your business or in your program, you are on the right and you're actually doing the hard work that I know you guys do day to day. Now, when we talk about lean, as Elliot mentioned, this is all about finding a problem, validating that problem, and then building a product that will solve the problem. If you pick up what I'm putting down, we want to make sure that you are crystal clear on the problem that you're solving for people in your community or in your region with the idea that you're thinking about. And again, this is a methodology designed to shorten the product development cycle. As you guys are thinking about programs and opportunities to support people, how do you do this and make sure that it's a sustainable and viable idea? Our program is designed to meet people at every step of the journey, whether you're in the early ideation phase, maybe you have a concept of what it is, you might already be running this. And what we want to do is help push you forward so you can take advantage of all the great resources that are available in the state of Minnesota, including this phase 2 opportunity. Now, our overview, this is a 10-week program. We meet virtually for 4 hours. You might go like a 4-hour meeting virtually. I promise, Elliot, I don't know who we're going to call on tonight to talk about their experience, but this is not a sit and get. You are not going to be sitting and watch. This is the most boringest part because I have to tell you what we're doing. When you are in the program, you're going to be actively working on your idea. You might need a nap when we're done. There are 8 deliverables here in our intro program that you are going to work through to help really road test and validate the idea that you're working on. We're going to get you connected with other resources throughout the program. We do something called the 30-second pitch night, which I'll talk about in a second. And then, of course, at the very end, we'll have a founder summary. Now, again, some of you are probably wondering, like, so is this on Zoom or Teams? And no, it's on this other platform. We didn't build it. It's very fun. It's like a video game plus Zoom plus Teams all combined into one. You can see these are many of the students and other feedbackers that will come and give you feedback on your idea. It looks a little bit like this. You can see on the left, you'll have a little avatar and a character. You can actually move around in the space. And then we do this massive multi-sticky note thing where we're really pushing and pulling on your idea. We're going to have a 30-second pitch night where you have to really work on crafting your idea into 30-second pitches, and then you're going to give multiple pitches in one event. We call it the 30-second pitch night because we do this a lot of times at night for MnDOT. We do it during the day. So this is a 30-second pitch day, Elliot, of course. We get you connected to other resources. So MnDOT, the SBDCs, SBA. Some of you might be working on an idea that other investors are interested in. So we want to make sure that you get connected to everything possible. And then at the very end, we have a virtual founder showcase. You can see here, again, you're going to get these little, my fingers are cold, so my mouse is moving slow. You're going to have these little digital booths that you'll be able to present and meet other feedbackers from MnDOT, other shared mobility experts, other transportation investors and innovators that want to come learn about what you're doing. And at the end of the day, what we really want to do is empower you to put your best foot forward, bring great ideas to the market, and make you as prepared as possible for all the resources that MnDOT has available. And that's what I got.
All right. Thank you, Nick. I know we have a few people that have been through the program in the audience. You mentioned Karen. I know Tammy's and Linnell are in the audience. Shelly just finished with the last cohort on the shared mobility program. Just wanted to ask if folks wanted to share it all with the other RTCC folks who maybe haven't been with the program, if you wanted to share a little bit about your experience. Not required, but if anybody wants to share, we'd love to hear.
Well, we would. Michelle, are you up for it with me?
Sure. Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
We had a great experience. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Now I see you.
Yeah, I don't know. She's sort of lagging. But so we had a specific project in mind, and it's kind of hard because we're not looking at this as like a business. It's different, and so we were trying to figure out weave it all through and make it work, and we did. But what we really found is by doing the lean startup is it really created a really deep focus. I mean, you were like honed in deeply into this. You really learned what it is that you wanted to do. And it was a big reality check. We narrowed the width of it down, and we got a lot of feedback. We gave a lot of feedback. We were able to explain our idea. We learned these new formats like that Gather Town and Loom to build a video, and Mural. We used all those, and we'll always have those. We'll always be able to fall back on all of this for any other projects in life, which is pretty cool. And then that 30-second pitch was really neat. I mean, really made you think. You only had 30 seconds, and you really focus down, like I said, onto a specific thing, and you work yourself all the way through it. I mean, Michelle and I were talking about this earlier, and it's kind of like if you would have the opportunity to do this before you have a child, I mean, you could maybe even put together the manual of how you're going to, raise this kid, And I'm serious, Nick. I think you need to do this for life coaching, because I've been going through some stuff, and it's like maybe I need to do a lean canvas for my life. So
yes.
Just a thought, and please let me know if you do that, because I want to get involved. So
Royalties are headed your way already. My brain is going.
I knew you would. See. So, yeah, I'm really happy that we've gotten the opportunity to meet you and to work with you, and know that you're always there in the future, and you'll always remember us too.
Yes.
Because we have our little avatars and stuff. So
I'll
shut up now, but thank you so much.
This is Linnell. I really enjoyed learning the new technology and the software, and I was not expecting to enjoy that part. That's a real challenge for me, but they were so helpful. And if I had any questions, they were right there. And you know, it really gave you a model, like Karen said, to apply to future ideas. So I just found it very useful.
And of
Tammy, did you want to share it
course,
all?
Here I am. Why wouldn't I? If not, Nick would be calling on me. You don't have a choice. So, um, I always say it takes you from a napkin idea, just this crazy, wild idea, and it literally, by the time that 10 weeks are done with, you have a viable product that you can go forth with. And I really, really appreciated that because sometimes I have the craziest ideas and other people, oh, yep, that's mine.
I have your drawings. I have your drawings.
But that project is doing well. And so I couldn't have done that without the ILT Academy and MnDOT backing us. And yeah, there's nothing more to say. I did cry the first day because it felt really overwhelming, but I got over that quickly because everybody's so nice to work with. So yay. I'm excited for everybody to go through it.
Thank you, Tammy. Michelle, do you want to say anything?
I well, we didn't cry, so that makes me sad that you cried. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is that you just get to keep refining what you're thinking. Seems like a no-brainer idea to you, but when you get feedback from other people and keep presenting the idea, it's easy to kind of adjust it as you go. And that was super helpful to have outside objective opinions throwing questions at you and different scenarios. So that was very helpful. We wouldn't be where we are today if we didn't go through that process.
I hope what everybody can see is that even though the first day may have ended in tears, by the end of the 10 weeks, they all had six-pack abs and they were loving it, you know. Digital abs, digital abs, digital abs.
Yeah, thanks for all of that, Nick. It was fabulous. A great experience.
Excellent. Well, we're not gonna, I won't keep Nick too long. Appreciate him taking out time to meet with us and share a little bit about the program today. Nick, we'll let you hop off as needed. We'll kind of throw it back to Kathy to get us back onto the program, and then I'm happy to answer questions folks have about the ILT program when we get to the Q&A section.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. Thank you so
All right.
much. Thanks for having me today, Tammy. I will mail you your pictures. Okay.
Yay.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Nick. Good. All right. Let me get back to my screens and my sharing and stuff. So I'm going to pass this over to, I think, to Sue. I think is what we ended up agreeing to on this, or maybe this is Elliot. Talk a little bit about the funding and the grant award.
Okay, well, basically, our funding is staying the same this year. It's the 80-10-10. For those of you that do not know, the indirect costs, if you are going to claim indirect costs, it is 15% now, up to 15% that you are able to claim. And then there are a few, if you have had the opportunity to look at the application in Black Cat, our audit department has required a few additional items that your boards will have to sign off on. And that is there's two certifications, and I need to have both of them signed. One is the certification of personal conflict of what is it, interest, conflict of interest checklist. It's a personal one and it's an organizational one. So I need both those signed off on and uploaded. And then it's the Form 990 or 990 EZ. That's the other additional form that will be required. And then, of course, it's the line item detail that you'll need to fill out. And within the line item detail, we have added, Elliot asked that we have a indirect cost line item added to the form. So if you see that the form has been adjusted a little bit, that has been added to the line item. So I think that will clarify a little bit more for you. So I hope that helps. And then, of course, we need your resolution. And Elliot, would you like to speak to the additional points on the local match?
Yeah. So this item we're actually removing from the solicitation. We got a little ahead of ourselves on this. This is actually going to be a consideration for next year's solicitation, but right now your only requirement is the 10% local match. So we'll be doing an update to the solicitation document, but you may have seen that additional points for additional match above the 10%. Just know that it will be a factor next year. So if you're thinking about that or planning for it, or thinking about other partners you might bring to the table with additional funding, that will be part of consideration for the more competitive solicitation next year. But this year, there won't be any extra consideration for that.
Right. And for those of you that have already downloaded the application, I did go in today when when the determination was made, and I did upload the amendment for you. And for those that have not downloaded the application already, it will be included in your download. But for those that have downloaded, I did upload the amendment for you, so you don't have to worry about it. And I will be sending the amendment to you directly after our webinar so that you have it should you have to show your board. Okay? Kathy, I'm done.
Good. Thanks, Sue.
Mm-hmm.
So Elliot, do you want to go back to talking about the scoring process that you talked about?
I didn't have anything else to add on to that,
Okay.
other than just to let them know that that local or increased local match scoring option has been removed.
Okay. Sounds good. So then looking at the timelines for these applications, these will be due into the Black Cat data management system on April 10th by 4:30. We're looking at making the notification for grant awards on May 1st, with the RTCCs getting the grant executed and ready to roll on July 1st. I think there's still some conversation on when the exact dates will be starting for the lean startup. So as soon as we get some confirmation from Nick and his team, we will pass that information on. So contacts for assistance. So many of you already have my email, but please reach out if you have questions on this grant application. Jean Meyer's contact information is on here as well too for the Title VI. And then Chuck's information is on here as well too if you run into any issues with Black Cat. So with that, I will open it up for any questions that you might have regarding the grant application. And I think Beverly has one.
Hi. Hi, Kathy. We haven't met yet.
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
the Arrowhead region. I need to
Mhm.
reply to your email. I apologize.
It's all good.
Okay, I have more than one. So we'll go one at a time. First question would be, is there still a fairly heavy expectation that we would maintain the council? I know it's in there that it's kind of like a you guys could way it was put, but is there an expectation behind that that we would need to, and it's the way it's formatted now with bylaws and co-chairs and how structured it is at the moment?
Elliot, do you want to answer that?
Yeah. So, oh, I'm getting a weird echo here. Okay, it went away. Oh, now it came back. Hold
I
on,
can mute.
let me plug
I
this
think
in.
it's Beverly's feedback.
Okay, maybe that is it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is not going to be a requirement. That the main focus of this year is going to be planning for your next solicitation for next year. So you can certainly maintain those. And I think the way you ought to be thinking about it is how does that structure feed into and support the idea that you're developing. So the focus of that should be primarily on the organizational structure that you have right now and the council. How is that structure feeding in and supporting the project or program idea that you're looking to move forward? So I think the key thing here is that certainly during the ILT period, as you heard, that can be a little bit intense. The expectation is that every awarded RTCC will actively participate in that. So that during that 10-week period, I think you would be looking at the ILT work being one of your primary projects. And then the remainder of your year, helping to further develop your idea and get it ready for the application in the winter. So to the point, you can certainly, and we said you can continue to do that organizational work, the council work, but you just want to make sure that it's balanced with the project planning.
All right. Second question, then I'll let Cheryl jump in. I saw Erica one too. Yeah. And then we write in, so for those of us, I think some of us do have like two main coordinators involved, it being one person identified with that person being a proxy for the ILT. So we're not holding up two staff persons' time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the ILT participation, that's kind of dependent on how you want to take that. You need to have somebody there each week. In some instances, like with Karen and Michelle, they both attended. I know they didn't both attend every week, but I know they were both participating. So you may want to be something like that where they're kind of a team and handing off to each other, or you could designate a single person within the organization to attend all of that. You just want to make sure that you've got somebody who can attend and be there for each week. We do know that things come up. So ILT does do office hours and things to help you get caught up. So if there is something that comes up, there's an opportunity to work with them to get caught up on any sessions that get missed.
Okay, thank you. I may have more, but I will give out the floor.
Okay.
Cheryl, did you have questions?
Yeah, a couple of them. Thank you. Sorry for my voice, and thanks, Beverly. First of all, just a quick little statement. The problem has already been identified in the RFP in terms of transit to persons of 65 and older and disabilities. And so I think there's an interesting assumption on MnDOT's behalf. Some of us that are doing this work have not been entrepreneurs. We are in the government sector, but this is going to be interesting to go through stuff that some of us know how to do. So I like the fact that we can have two people because staff does change and we have vacations, et cetera. So I appreciate that.
Yep.
But I will tell you straight up, I think this was an assumption on MnDOT's behalf that might not be true for all. It's good for everybody because it's been good for some. And so the value may be, if you're going to do real measuring, may be varied based upon the experience of the individuals that are participating in this ILT program, which is extensive and a big time commitment. I want to know if the definition of disabilities include persons in recovery programs. I need to know that specifically because, of course, we've had ideas that we have been fostering, but have stayed within the boundaries that we have had to with RTCC per MnDOT's instructions. And so it's great that we actually get to come up with an idea for mature one of our ideas and take it to implementation next year. But I need to understand if disabilities, I need a definition for disabilities, Elliot, and how that looks. And I also want to know if project development includes testing, and therefore as part of the MVT, if we are able to test our ideas towards the end, which could include stipends for specific audiences, persons with disabilities and 65 and older, and working with very specific populations to make sure that we are language and culturally appropriate with our transit systems. And so I need to understand if in our proposal we can identify dollars specific for transit providers, as we're not one as a regional development commission. So that's my second question. The very last one is, I want to know if ILT, outside of what they've done with these gals, has ever really worked with government entities, because they seem very private sector driven. Do you get all my questions, Elliot?
I did. I'm gonna lean on Sue. If you don't know, that's okay. We can follow up if you know the answer to the question about the disability eligibility.
Yep. Cheryl, right now, I'm going to tell you that the people's in recovery I don't believe falls under the disabilities. I don't believe, but I will go to FTA with that and get back to you. Okay.
This is Eric. If I could real quick, I should just let you know that diagnosable drug and alcohol disorders or substance abuse disorders are considered disabilities under Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act, because I just looked it up.
Yeah, but I have 5310 that I'm working with, which is a specific guidance that I have to look at. So I will get back to you on that. I have to go right to Chicago on that one, Eric.
Go to that for me,
It may
Sue,
be.
'cause
It may
those
be.
people need it.
Yep,
Yeah,
I know that. Yeah.
I appreciate it. And if we, Sue will ask about that, and if we can do it, we'll make it an option for you.
Absolutely.
We are limited
Thank you, Eric.
with that.
Yep.
I think your second question was about stipends and MVP. I think we're totally open to that in the application for the 2-year. So I don't think we're looking at that necessarily in this first year. It's more kind of the preparatory phase. But if you're moving in that direction, or you want to entertain that as part of your application for next year, then we would work with you to develop that, and I think we can look at that.
So Elliot, there will be no dollars available to test our ideas in community until implementation. This is just another planning year.
Yes, that's the intention right now, that we want to go through, after you've gone through that program, you've further developed it, and then the next solicitation is when we would look at making funding available to test.
And that would be year 6 of our TCC, am I right?
I
Since
do
it
not
started
know
soon?
when the first.
Yes,
Seven,
it would be
seven.
yours.
7.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, and then your final question was about ILT. Yes, they were envisioned as an entity that works with entrepreneurs and startups in the private sector. We have run now 4 cohorts with them in our Moving Greater Minnesota Forward program. The vast majority of those participants have come from the public sector, whether that's regional development commissions, members of the government, nonprofit organizations. And so I do think they push people to be more entrepreneurial, but I do think that the model still has value in an area where you're developing new ideas and trying to test them. And so, yes, their focus their focus is primarily on the process around lean startup, and MnDOT, our role is to really wrap around that in more of the public sector role and engaging with you at that level.
Congratulate Nick for selling that to you. It's a good plan.
Okay, I know Eric had put a question in, so before we get to the next person, I think he was next in line. It says, is all of our work gradually becoming the singular focus of this one idea we'll be developing, or is that one idea part of a larger effort to reduce transportation gaps for non-drivers in our region? So I think what we really want to do is drill down on a specific problem within your region that you want to address. That I think my take on it is that I think our expectation has on the RTCCs to date has meant that you are often 1,000 miles wide and a few inches deep, and we want to empower you to go deeper and actually really dig into problems. We also, as I mentioned in sort of our strategic plan, is we want to be more focused on how do we bring other partners, other funders to multiply the dollars that we're putting in, that you guys are putting in. And we think that success breeds success. And so by focusing more on specific projects, that's an opportunity to really demonstrate impact and to bring more resources to the program. So, so I think it's a little bit of a pivot from what we've done before. I don't think this means this one project or whatever you're working on is the only thing we're ever going to do, but it's trying to refocus on something where we can create a greater demonstration of impact, be able to potentially bring in more partners and bring in more resources.
So just to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, what I'm hearing is that all the work that we've done on, for instance, the transportation resource directories or the public outreach or the volunteer driver recruitment assistance or professional driver recruitment assistance, all of that goes to the wayside and we focus just on developing this one idea until this idea doesn't work, and then we pivot to the next idea.
I'm not saying that that work doesn't have value and isn't part of the resources that we have. And your project may be to further develop one of those items that you've already been working on. It doesn't have to be something different. If you want to go deeper in to address where you see an issue or a problem or transportation need within your community, and it's something you're already working on, but you want to develop that more, you want to put more focus or resource into it, that's fine too.
Okay, so it could be looked at as we're basically scrapping what we've done up until this point and starting again with basically it's a new RTCC program. It's not a continuation of the previous program. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're transitioning to a different model. I think that's correct.
Okay.
Why couldn't we just do like 75-25? Like, oh man. Like as Eric was saying, all the work we've done already and the ILTs only, like, it's 10 weeks. We get, this great product at the end to move forward. And then the rest of the year could be a pared down version of the RTCC with obviously the ILT project in mind, but not the other way, not like restarting the RTCC work from the ILT's perspective. Because as Eric was saying, like the transportation directory.
Right. And I think what we're saying is you don't have to completely abandon that. If you want to continue to do that work and you think that that's an important part of everything else, you can. We said that in the solicitation, you can continue to fund that. But I think the key is kind of tying that to your project and program idea and how that's supporting that work.
I mean, I think the thing is that it's all of this other work that we've done is what gives us credibility in the first place. And so if we don't do that work anymore, we no longer have that same credibility. And so our idea or our project is less likely to find success.
I respect that statement because I fear going to this council and saying things in a different, that we're going to scrap it. They're not going to want to work with us anymore on it.
I just want to address there were a couple more questions. in the chat. It says, does a project need to be created in Black Hat and then attached to the application, or is the line item detail budget form sufficient? I think we do want to know a little bit more about the idea in your application, so we want to have some of that information there as well for that. So
really, I think I'll go backwards. Typically, when we
okay.
create projects like 5311 wise, it's a budget. That's what I mean by project, not a work are we going to do project.
Oh, okay, I see.
So my question is more related to, do we create a project that shows our budget, or is that budget form that's part of the application sufficient?
Okay.
Understand
In
what I'm
that
saying?
case, yes, the budget form is sufficient.
So we don't have to create a separate project for operating dollars.
Yeah, Ellie, can I answer that?
Yes,
I think,
please.
Sorry,
okay.
it's more Black Cat lingo than
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, I'm
So-
not a heavy Black Cat user,
No.
so
So-
I may be going over my head.
Yeah. So Nick, and everyone, the ILT expense is not, MnDOT's paying for that. So the budget that you're going to be applying for is
Staff time.
over and above. The ILT expense we're covering. That's separate from this application. So you don't have to put anything in the application with regards to ILT.
This basically, right, Sue, it's just staff time, because otherwise we'd have no reason to actually do any
Exactly.
more with our websites, or do anything more with our directories, or do anything more. All of that's been kind of somewhat put on hold, unless that's your idea.
Well, you have other, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess from hearing everyone, I thought that you would continue your work. I didn't realize you were thinking that maybe you wouldn't continue your other work. I thought that you would continue your work. I didn't realize that this conversation would come to that. So
Maybe some clarification from you guys then at that end to say, are we moving beyond? Are we putting our stakeholders? You guys, the anxiety comes in that these are our relationships, not MnDOT's. They're ours. And we burn that bridge, we're going to have a hard time going back. So, you had us bring in amazing human beings, public health, all these other folks. If we say we're going to put you on hold for a year, what does that say to them about the value of their input to our transportation systems for the previous 7 years, 6 years that we've had stakeholders? You guys can figure that out later, but we should get some clarification. Are we putting in staff time, and does that include, mostly it'll just be staff time, because we're not continuing any more web development, video development, trainings, directories, because unless that's your idea, and unless that's shifted. So maybe some clarification in that would be helpful.
Yeah, and can I just say, the project that we did through ILT, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to understand it. They take you through it step by step. And we did one project, one thing of what we were working on. We didn't focus 100% of our attention on just that one project. We were doing all kinds of things. So
That's cool, Michelle. And I appreciate
it doesn't
that
have to be
feedback.
one,
But
I guess, yeah.
for those of
So-
us who have been entrepreneurs, for those of us who have launched successful businesses and worked with them and been SBDC trainers and worked with businesses for decades, this is painful.
Okay.
Do you have other
Well,
questions?
Yeah, I mean, to answer, you had two questions in the chat, which is, will we have to go through ILT for every future project? ILT is on contract with MnDOT through the end of the year, calendar year, so we'll evaluate that in the future and make decisions in the future based on the success. So it's lean startup in that way. They have to prove their worth to continue to be a part of the program. Can we move forward on two projects simultaneously, like the directory and new project? Yes, you can propose multiple projects. If you feel the directory and these relationships are a critical part, then make that a part of your project. That's okay. Then Eric, is it okay to switch ideas partway through the year if the initial idea isn't panning out? Yes, you may pivot. Part of this is you have an idea, it may not pan out. You're being given the skills to be able to pivot and to go to a different idea if that idea does not work. If we have a group that is ready to go now on a project, is that an option, or would we want to go, would they need to wait a year, go through ILT before implementing? We think it's very valuable to go through this. We think this is a risk reducer. This will make your project better in the end. So we are not providing operational project funding in this solicitation. That'll be for next year. Is the project meant to be an enhancement to or replacement of our current work? That's the real question. That's up to you to define. If you feel strongly that the project that what you want to do is enhance, provide more depth and impact on the existing work that you're doing, you can propose that, and this is designed to help you work through that and further refine that. If you want to move in a new direction, you're open to that as well. Yes, Tony.
Can I get a clarification on the timeline here? Because I know it looks like we're doing ILT after the contract is awarded in July. Is that, will the 26-27 be like a January 1 startup, so we're similar to the TCAPs, or will that continue to be like a July to June 30 type contract?
It'll continue to be a July to June contract. So the ILT is to get you started on the work, but it's the starting place to continue to do that work throughout the year. Gavin.
Yeah, thanks, Elliot. And hello, Kathy. My name is Gavin Bukovic. I co-coordinate the Arrowhead RTCC with Beverly. My question is, and I think this might probably be better for the ILT Academy, is will we, the RTCC group, get to choose the times of the week that work best for our group? And will those be kind of fixed sessions over the 10-week period? I just think about all the other obligations we have going on during the work week, and how, you know, the second week of the month might be different than the third week of the month, so to say.
Yeah, the ILT, it's collaborative, so all of you will meet at the same time with ILT. So it'll be the same time each week. We're waiting, right?
Will we be picking will we be working as a group to find the times that work best for RTCC staff?
We have to somewhat work around ILT's schedule. They have multiple cohorts, so it'll be a set time. As I said, they do offer opportunities for office hours and other support to get you caught up. So if there's a particular week where you cannot attend, then you can work with them to make that up.
All right. And then with this kind of new format or direction for the RTCC group, what will our reporting requirements look like? Monthly, quarterly, or et cetera?
We'll be looking at, as you guys know, we did move to new reporting. So we've been on a monthly, just really basic check-in report, very short, 1 page, because your current contract requires a monthly report, and then we do quarterly reports. That's the fuller process. We're going to move to a quarterly reporting period for the next round.
Okay, thank you.
So. There's another question in the chat. If we obtain outside funding for a project we want to develop from AARP, or what if we obtain outside funding? Can we use that funding for a pilot and learning? Yes. If you receive outside funding for a project and you want to start before then, you can. You can also look at bringing that outside funding as part of the increased third-party support of a project would be considered in third-party or local match for the next solicitation. Per Gavin's question on meeting times, what happens if our RTC misses an ILT meeting since it's mandatory we attend? So that's what I meant. They provide coaching and office hours to catch people up. So I don't know if we have anybody who attended who missed a class and had to make it up during the phase one, moving Greater Minnesota forward, if they want to share experience on that. Linnell.
Oh, yeah, that was no problem. I just met them during the office hours. They went through the assignment. I asked my questions and they stayed with me as long as I needed.
Beverly, do you have it? Looks like Beverly has another question.
Yeah. What does the homework look like? What is that about? Anyone that maybe's done it could give me a idea of it?
It was different. It was different every week. There were sometimes it was taking whatever piece of the homework or the assignment that we had been working on that day to potential customers or potential stakeholders and getting additional feedback, getting outside input. Sometimes it was, oh gosh, I don't even remember.
I know. I was thinking maybe just even getting a little deeper into it and filling out more of the templates to be able to come back to the next meeting with more information. You got to think about it as it's enhancing what it's for you. I mean, you're not doing this for anybody else. So what you put into it is what you get out of it. So you want to do as much of it as you can because it really, really makes a difference in how you're looking at your project. And we've had to pivot a bit. Ours isn't exactly what it is that we did during the ILT, but it's very much along the same lines. And no matter what, the work that you do at ILT can be used in the future for other things. It is a bit of homework, and I would recommend you work with somebody in your within your office and do it together. Because then if somebody misses, then the other one can help the other person out, and you're doing it together. It's actually, I thought it was a much more fun experience, but that's just me. Tammy, you did it by yourself, but you did a great job, and so got to give yourself some grace and time to work on it.
And I didn't cry because it was scary. I cried because it was like, I just remember leaving that first meeting. I'm like, there's just so many new platforms and I'm old and I'm never going to learn anything out of this, but they really work with you. And pretty soon you're just moving your little person around everywhere and it was okay. So I didn't mean to scare everybody by saying it made me cry.
I will say we have been working with ILT2 as Tammy, I think you were in the second cohort. Each cohort, we've been working on improvements on onboarding to get folks up to speed before that first class day. So there's a little bit where before that first class, they find time to work with folks and kind of introduce folks to the platform and how it works. So you're not as stressed out on that first day. Yeah, Tony.
Being that we're kind of shifting maybe a little bit here of how this is working, is there parameters? Are we looking at a budget that's similar to previous years, like a 1-year budget that we've used in the past? Or are you looking for us to scrap previous historic budgets and just start from beginning?
I think you can look at for this planning year, I think you can look at a similar budget to for 1 year to what you've looked at before. So I think you can use that as a guide.
Perfect. Thank you.
Let's see, there was another question. Will year 2, 3 include funding for project implementation? Yes, that's the intent. So that would be next year's solicitation. Is there any concern the funding will be eliminated due to the fact that the word disability is in it? Isn't that one of the banned DEI words for grants and funding? Disability is not the D in DEI, so no. I can say FTA funding was part of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It was authorized and is part of funding for the federal government. We have not seen any indication of impact through the existing executive orders or budget comments, and so we don't currently have any issues or concerns right now. We are keeping an eye on that. Do know that MnDOT works on a reimbursement basis, so no one should be concerned right now about your current funding through the end of this fiscal year, that we are funded and in a place to reimburse you for your expenses through your existing grant, and we'll deal with that if there are any issues with the federal government ourselves. So basically, I don't have any concerns to share with you at this point on that. I know it's a stressful time in general with everything that's been happening and all the change in Washington, but we have not yet seen any impact in the 5310 program.
So how does it look then with the reimbursement? So when we would send in what are they, to get the money for the ILT, like how does that look on the, so you have 8 hours, I spent 4 of it on ALT, 4 of it on RTCC. How does?
Yeah, it'll just be part of your general reimbursement. So it's just you're putting hours into ILT, so you're not going to need to designate time specifically for our ILT in that. And you'll continue to be able to do monthly reimbursements. So the reporting will be quarterly, but your reimbursements can still remain monthly.
Okay. And then with the quarterly reporting, did you say we're supposed to have been doing this now for this current solicitation, right? A quarterly, or did we switch just to that single sheet?
So we switched. You still have to do the logic model on a quarterly basis under the existing contract.
Okay, that wasn't made clear, so we have not been in compliance with that.
Okay, that's okay. You can get caught up. So right now, there's a quarterly, so October through December. If you haven't had a chance to do that, you do need to do a logic model for that period. But then the monthly, we wanted to move completely to a quarterly, so there wasn't this monthly at all, but under the existing contract, you have to report something to us monthly. So that's why we came up with the really basic one-pager. So you didn't have to do a full-blown report every month. We are looking at moving away from the logic model for the next contract. So I'm hoping that I can retain or regain some popularity by saying that in this conversation. But we'll be looking at more of a task deliverable model that you'll just report on the tasks that you did each quarter.
You did get some favor there, Elliot. Good job. And it sounds to me, Beverly, like this, and Tony, that the budgets will be just staff time where we go, whether that's ILT or whether it's working with our stakeholders or whatever we're doing. Just all part of that is part of our reimbursement and verifying that on our time cards. I do want you, Elliot, to go back and please verify. I know that the federal we all know that the federal highway bill and is approved and then trickles down to the states. I know that you haven't heard anything about any of the transportation dollars being clawed back as a result of DEI. But Eric is right. Disability is being considered a DEI issue of the administration under the executive order. And I was just on the phone with several legislators earlier this morning. Transportation will not be exempt from this. It's just that they have 90 days to get their information up to the feds in terms of what programs are touching DEI, and then they will make the decision at that point in time. So for 90 days, Elliot doesn't know either, neither does Sue. No one at state MnDOT office will know, but there is a risk.
Yeah, the thing that I would just communicate to all of you is I do not believe you need to be worrying about, am I going to get reimbursed for the remainder of this contract? We can't control what's going to happen in the future. You know, that will have great, you know, if it is a negative impact, it'll have a great impact on a lot of people. And we'll have to deal with that when that comes. But for the time being, we don't know how this will be impacted, but I don't want anyone to be concerned that they will not, you know, there'll be any issues impacting this existing contract. Shelley.
Hey, Elliot, I don't even know how to frame my question. Because we're so new, it feels like we're getting ahead of ourselves here. If we develop a project, you had said we could incorporate the project into getting our RTCC up and running. How do you see this all working?
Yeah, so you all are in the midst of establishing a new RTCC. So your primary project is establishing your RTCC and getting that up and going. So that would be the focus of your work. And
so with getting it up and running, because this project is focused on seniors and people with disabilities, are we hampering our startup, or is it, I don't know how to phrase what I'm kind of hashing over, but it seems like this is smaller, this scope is smaller, and we need to be more broad.
You're saying the scope is smaller in what you're proposing or what we're talking about?
Well, to get an RTCC up and going, this project is based on a certain population, of which Linda and I have worked in the field forever. So it seems like a no-brainer, but the RTCC is broader than we are. So we're used to working in the field of disability. And so by naming a project, without an RTCC really in place, is there a way to start the RTCC by developing a project for a specified?
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there to look at the project as the way to organize your RTCC around. It's sort of the initial work the RTCC would be organizing to do. So I think that might be a way to approach it under this kind of new model that we're looking at.
Okay. We're probably going to need some additional meetings.
Sure, that's fine. And if anybody wants to meet one-on-one to discuss more about this, how this would impact your existing program and how to navigate this, we're happy to meet with you.
Thank you.
Okay, Beverly.
So how does now the RTCC then engage with the local human service transportation plan, as it's originally meant to be the implementator of that plan? I think that's kind of where a big part of this group's coming from, where there's so much planning already done. So how does that fit in now?
I think the local coordination plan can be used as the document maybe to single out a particular area that you're wanting to work on. Part of that's defining what those needs are within the community, and so it can be a way to prioritize the work that you're thinking about.
Sure. So then it's partially answers that, because maybe this kind of goes back to how we would be communicating this to our council, because they're under it's been said, we're the structure to ensure these priorities are implemented. But now you're saying maybe now we're just going to look at one thing to make sure we're implemented. So when the plan comes up again, which is soon, in like maybe 2026, 27, there will no longer be maybe a structure to push those priorities forward. It's going to fall back onto those individual entities, which
Beverly,
didn't
I would
work,
think of
which is
this
why
like
we
this.
came.
Yeah, and I know
to
that
be.
Elliot's supposed to answer this question, Beverly, but I think of it this: the local human transit coordination plans basically said transit providers and rural places, get your stuff in a group. We all need to start talking to each other and coordinating with each other, and that's what it says. And create projects, create linkages, close the gaps in areas where we don't have systems, find volunteer drivers if we don't have fixed routes. That's all what the local human transit coordination plan said. RTCCs now, as you know, move forward to kind of do some of that. What they're saying now is pick a project that would achieve a high level goal within the local human transit coordination plan that aligns with what our RTCCs have been talking about over the last 7 damn years, what will be 7, and dive into that project. And then we're just trying to get all of us in RTCC world to get to implementation. I'm not speaking on behalf of MnDOT, but that's my observation. And many of you have been doing that, but this is an intentional effort on MnDOT's behalf to measure success based upon implementation, not just based upon planning. So you're still in compliance.
Sure. I guess I appreciate that you said that. I think how you answered it was kind of maybe something I would like in the future to hear from MnDOT communicated to the council. And that's probably why I'm bringing up, and to maybe have some reassurance that there's been some, not with no disrespect to the amount of work that's being put in to this and to this change, but that there's been the consideration of that thought of how now the local human service transit transportation plan will fit into this in the moving ahead.
I have nothing to add. I thought that was a fairly accurate representation of the direction we're going. So, Thomas.
Yeah, so I'm, pretty new to RTCC stuff, started in October, but I would like to kind of drive home the part that Shelley's bringing up, in that I think, and my point of view is that the RTCs were kind of meant as a local solutions fit better than the one size fits all approach, which it kind of feels a little like this ILT Academy is the one size fits all, like everyone goes through this, instead of trusting the local solutions pieces of it. So hopefully that I don't know, is an advocate for Shelley there on getting their thing kind of running and being a voice for them.
Yeah, I mean, I I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think it's a toolbox that I think can be very effective. We've had on the shared mobility side incredible variety of projects and stakeholders participate in that. So, we've heard from some of the Regional Development Commission participants, but we've had actual entrepreneurs, we've had some small businesses, we've had several nonprofits and governmental entities with wildly different projects, from microtransit services to a company that wanted to do a winterized scooter in Duluth, to a small tourist-based bike share system, to developing more work around volunteer drivers. And so those are all extremely different projects. But the toolkits and the things that you get out of the program, I think, can be helpful and scaled to each of those kinds of projects. So I think there's strength that we've found, and after every cohort, we do a debrief with everybody who participated to ask them what worked and what didn't. They've been pretty universally positive. I've met with almost every participant. I've got a new person that's helping me that's met with a few people in this last cohort. But the first 3 cohorts, I met with every single person. And they all found value in this, in improving the way that they looked at projects and the way they developed projects, and then really making a compelling story and case around what they were doing to go after support or funding wherever that was. So I think the experience that we've had has been pretty universally positive with our participants. Karen had a kind of logistical question. I want to make sure that we have the forms we need to bring to our next RDC board meeting on Monday night. Is the resolution the only one that needs to be signed by the commission's president? If Sue's still on the line here.
Yeah, I am. Karen,
Okay.
I would look at the conflict of interest checklist. Depending on your RDC, your president might need to sign off on that.
Okay. All right. I know Bob's on here, but I'm
Okay.
yeah, but I just want to make sure because our next meeting is Monday and it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to make sure that we have it done before we need to,
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't look like, has anybody got any final questions as we prepare to wrap up? Seeing none, I appreciate everybody's time today. This was a very informative dialogue with the change in what's happening with the program. As Elliot said as well too, if there are specific questions or concerns that you want to go through with us as staff, please reach out to me and I'll get that meeting scheduled and coordinated with Elliot and the other staff as well as we go through this. And 2, any other questions that come up as you're putting together your application, please reach out so that we can get that answered and get your applications in. So with that, I will wish you all a good afternoon and stay warm. So, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thanks, everyone.